We had him in dark.
These outlaws thought they were invading the house of God. They didn't realize they just walked into a systematic trap set by a 15-year-old predator. She isn't just a hostage, she's a gunslinger after their $8,000 heads. The story begins in 1887 in New Mexico. Chaos erupts outside a bank as gunfire breaks out, killing several citizens. We quickly see 5 robbers burst out, their bags stuffed with money, and they bolt away on horseback. The city sheriff and his deputies open fire on the fleeing group, managing to take down one of the 5, but the remaining 4 escape. Since this robbery and shootout resulted in the death of the city's mayor and many common people, the sheriff places a massive $8,000 reward on the heads of the surviving robbers. Hearing about that huge $8,000 bounty, an enormous sum for that time, a ruthless bounty hunter named Josiah immediately takes up the chase. While tracking the gang, he confirms that one of the 4 surviving robbers is injured, and he starts moving in their direction. The leader of this outlaw group is Henry. His remaining crew members are Charlie, Madison, and Joe. The 4 robbers stop on their journey when they spot an old couple. This couple happens to be a relative of Charlie, and they offer the outlaws food and water. They also reveal some critical news. During the bank robbery, a girl and the city mayor were killed by the gang's gunfire, and now there is an $8,000 bounty on their heads. Henry makes a swift, cold decision. Since the reward is so large, Henry can't risk them telling anyone, so he promptly shoots and kills Charlie's uncle and aunt. The next scene takes us to a small town called Tilden, featuring a small church and a nearby house. George, the preacher of that church, is teaching his 2 teenage daughters to aim a revolver. The girls are Charlotte and Florence. Right away, we notice that Florence is the better shot, which makes Charlotte jealous. The 2 sisters start bickering, forcing their father to step in and stop the fight. Later that night, George's wife and the girl's mother, Ada, prepares dinner. The family sits down to eat together. Meanwhile, Josiah and his group, who are traveling about 30 hours behind the robbers, reach the spot where Henry and his gang shot the old couple. Near the bodies, Josiah finds the couple's 7-year-old granddaughter. She is the one who tells Josiah that the 4 outlaws headed east toward the White Sand Desert. Many in Josiah's crew refuse to follow the robbers into the white sand. They argue that the road is too difficult and there is no food or water for the horses or themselves. They are convinced the robbers will die of hunger and thirst anyway, so they should stop the hunt. Hearing this reluctance, Josiah ruthlessly shoots and kills one of his own men and then orders the rest to take the young girl back to the city. Only a Mexican man named Alonzo is willing to continue with Josiah, and the 2 set off into the desert. In the harsh white sand, without food or water, all the horses belonging to Henry's group die, forcing them to continue on foot. The injured Madison can't keep up and collapses on the road. Seeing him suffer, Joe and Charlie show him no mercy and shoot him, killing him instantly. Now reduced to 3, Henry, Charlie, and Joe, they walk hungry and exhausted all day until they finally reach the small church and George's house in Tilden. When it gets dark, they break into the house, take George's revolver, and immediately hold all 4 family members hostage. Henry orders the family to sit down while Charlie and Joe start devouring the food because they haven't eaten in 2 days. George and the rest of the family are understandably terrified of the outlaws. But Florence shows no fear whatsoever. She starts boldly asking the robbers about their theft. George and Ada repeatedly tell her to shut up. Henry, surprisingly, seems to like Florence's spirit and tells her to sit next to him. When George objects, Charlie shuts him up by striking him across the face, breaking his nose. Florence then tells Henry she doesn't mind sitting next to him, but she says he and his companions smell awful. So, the entire gang heads to a nearby lake to bathe. Henry first sends Charlie and Joe to bathe while he holds Florence and her family at gunpoint. After they return, Henry goes to the lake himself, and Florence joins him. Florence's sister, Charlotte, and mother, Ada, are instantly suspicious of Florence's closeness to Henry, but George argues that Florence is only doing this to keep the robbers from shooting them. Meanwhile, Alonzo and Josiah stop for the night and light a fire, believing they'll catch up to the 3 remaining thieves by the next afternoon. After bathing, Henry and his group return to George's house and start a fire. Henry claims he's tired from the journey and bath and needs to sleep on a bed, and he asks Florence to come to his room and give him a massage. George immediately protests, arguing that his daughter is only 15 years old. Henry assures him that he never forces any girl and genuinely just wants a massage. Henry tells Joe to guard the main door with Charlotte for the night, warning him not to touch her without her permission. He tells Charlie to keep an eye on Ada and George, and then he goes into the bedroom. In the bedroom, Florence begins giving Henry a massage but starts to escalate things sexually. Henry is shocked and tells her she doesn't need to do that. But she responds that this is simply what she was taught to do as a massage. Henry stops her, and they start talking. Florence tells him she wants an adventurous life, just like Henry's, exploring new cities. Henry says he likes her too, and before starting any relationship, he'd marry her properly and take her with him. They fall asleep while talking. Outside the house, Joe tries to flirt with Charlotte, but she shows no interest, and due to Henry's warning, Joe leaves her alone. In the morning, Joe sends Charlotte inside the house, then goes in to wake up Charlie and George. Charlie tells Henry they need to leave, but Florence walks out of the room wearing a cowboy hat and boots. Charlie and Joe immediately point their guns at her, but Henry steps in and stops them, announcing that Florence knows how to shoot, and from today, she's their fourth gang member. He adds that they are going to get married soon. Everyone is stunned. George and Ada try desperately to explain to Florence that Henry is not the right husband for her. In the morning, Alonzo and Josiah continue their journey and find the dead body of Madison, confirming they are on the right trail. Alonzo is skeptical that the 3 surviving robbers are still alive after so much hunger and thirst, but Josiah reminds him they get the bounty money whether the men are alive or dead, they just need to present the heads of the dead robbers to the city people. At George's house, the family tries to stop Florence from joining the gang. George pleads with her, using the message of the church and God, but she points a gun at him and tells him not to talk about God. Henry stops her from shooting George. Instead, Florence shoots her own sister, Charlotte, in the neck, shocking everyone except Henry. Charlotte is not instantly killed, so Florence walks up to her and shoots her in the head, killing her immediately. Henry then holds George at gunpoint, asking why he used to abuse his daughters under the guise of giving them a massage. Florence revealed to Henry last night that George had been doing this to them since they were 11, even causing Charlotte to become pregnant once. George cries, claiming it was a long time ago and he was drunk, but now he is a follower of the church and doesn't do anything like that. But Henry knows George still does this to his daughters occasionally, which is why Florence tried to perform those sexual acts with him last night. Henry, enraged, tells Florence not to shoot George but asks her and her mother to leave the house with Charlie. He then demands George abuse him the same way he abused his daughters. George breaks down, crying, and begs Henry to just shoot and kill him instead. Henry is only trying to scare him. He stops the abuse and tells Joe to call everyone back inside. Henry tells Florence that George is her abuser, so she must punish him. Florence takes a shotgun and begins beating her father with the butt of the gun instead of shooting him. Charlie joins her, and together they beat George to death. Charlie asks Florence why George deserved to die, but why she killed her own sister, Charlotte. Florence says that Charlotte actually liked their father's abuse, so she had always wanted to kill her. Seeing this utterly dark side of Florence, Charlie and Joe welcome her into their gang. Henry embraces Florence and asks her to clean the blood off him, as the 4 of them are leaving for the Mexican border to start a new life together. Florence cleans herself, but she leaves her mother, Ada, alive with a bag of gold coins. She warns Ada that if she tells the police about her or Henry's group, Florence will come back and kill her too. Florence then rides off toward the border with Henry and her new gang. Many hours later, Josiah and Alonzo reach the house and church. They find the bodies of George and Charlotte inside and Ada sitting on the church steps, completely insane from the trauma. Alonzo and Josiah decide to stop the hunt, believing the robbers must have already crossed the border into Mexico. Alonzo returns to the city. Josiah, however, returns to Ada, spotting the bag of gold coins she has kept with her. As Josiah picks up the gold and starts to leave, Ada, who is now completely unhinged, shoots him repeatedly from behind, killing him. Meanwhile, Florence reaches the Mexican border with Henry, Charlie, and Joe. The 4 stop at a lake for a drink. Henry kisses Florence. She thanks him for the journey so far and then shoots him in the stomach. She then shoots Charlie and Joe as well. Charlie dies immediately. Joe, after being shot 3 times, is still alive and tries to kill Florence. But Henry, in his wounded state, manages to shoot Joe in the chest, killing him. Henry truly fell in love with Florence. Now severely injured, he looks at her as she apologizes for the betrayal, crying. She tells him she truly wanted to join the gang and go to Mexico, but she chose the $8,000 reward on their heads over a life of crime. With that money, she can start a respectable life without ever having to do anything illegal again. To fulfill her wish, Henry shoots himself in the head, ending his own life. Florence sits by the lake for a long time, weeping. She finally says goodbye to Henry and then, with an axe, she cuts off the heads of Henry, Charlie, and Joe. She puts the 3 heads in a bag and rides a horse back to the city to collect the bounty money. In the final scene, we see Florence's mother, Ada, at home. Florence arrives, steals her gold coin bag and her revolver, and then shoots and kills her, too. Why? Because when her father was abusing her, her mother never stopped him. And now, Florence is simply unwilling to share her newly acquired money with anyone. That's one dark ending. For more intense movie explanations like this, click on the video link on the left or the right. Until then, stay safe and keep watching Cinemaned.